Hi, everyone. I'm Frank Malicote. I'm a news anchor and a reporter for Fox KTVU Channel 2 here in the San Francisco Bay Area. My guest is Neha Gupta. She is the founder of College Shortcuts and here to talk about navigating college entry during these very troubled times. Good morning and good afternoon. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm great. Good to have you on this Friday. And we were talking off camera a little bit, but you got to feel for these seniors in high school. They finally made it the last month or two of school where you can kind of relax a little bit, go to the prom, graduate, and find out where you're going to college. And then all of a sudden this happens. So there's probably a little empathy for them out there, don't you think?
There absolutely is. I think, a lot of them were really looking forward to prom. A lot of them were looking forward, especially I was someone that got to speak at my high school graduation, and I can't imagine what
Right.
that would be like at that age to be told, hey, I'm so sorry, there's no graduation for you to speak at.
I know. And the parents too, they're proud. They want to be there.
Yeah.
All the sports, lacrosse season and baseball, track and field, all those things just
Yeah,
going out the
it, it,
door.
it's very tough. And then also, what's really hard with these decisions that are coming up to make a decision about your college, so many families plan their spring break for this time specifically to make that decision,
Right.
or even during this time to visit those campuses and get like that. You get like a feel like you do when you pick a new home, because this is going to be a new home for your child. So
Right.
now they're having to do that just virtually or through forums. So with our students, we've been working with them one-on-one that are getting into their dream school. We've got kids, for example, that, are having to choose between Georgetown and Rice. And they're like, can you tell me like what the differences are? And so our team is working around the clock with these seniors to help them through this decision, because it is a 4-year decision they're making.
I was going to say the implications are huge. It's going to change their life, whether you go to Georgetown and hit the East Coast or stay in Texas and go to Rice, your peer
Absolutely.
group, your opportunities, being true to your school, everything's going to change, right?
Exactly. And that's why, we feel families need to be taking a lot of time with their research, looking online, doing the virtual tours, talking with people at that university to really make an educated decision. I think if I look at this from, I always look at the world as half glass full. So if I
Yeah.
had to look at like what are the positive things that have happened? Well, first, seniors are getting to experience senioritis at a whole nother level.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And they
Think
can't
about
wait
that.
to leave because now mom and dad are in their backyard all the time, right?
Right. And seniors know that their grades don't really matter. So they're on house parties, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, hanging out because they don't have to do anything. They got into their schools. So that's one big thing. And I'm hearing this a lot from seniors. They're like, this is like ultimate vacation for us. We don't
Right.
have to care about anything. Some of them are taking some APs, but that's about it. They're like, okay, I guess like life's just canceled for us until we go to college. So it's like the ultimate senioritis. The second thing I would say though, is a lot of students never end up visiting the campus before they say yes to the school. And that's why colleges aren't saying like, hey, we'll give you until 6 months from now to decide. They need to put butts in seats, and they also need to make sure that they know what their next freshman class looks like.
Sure.
And so many kids, like international kids, never come to really visit the schools too, right? So in a way, it's students learning to be more resourceful. And we also have the internet. I mean, I'm sure, Frank, when you were applying to research these websites, see exactly the details, these forums, like you didn't have that opportunity. And if you look at it from that perspective, like, wow, we are in a time where you can go and
Right.
use the internet to your advantage.
Yeah. If you want to go to Duke, you can zoom right in and find out just about everything you want. You could probably go into a classroom for crying out loud.
Yeah, you could probably find out their cafeteria menu for the year.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I hear Duke has good food. Um, what is the primary concern? Say you've got a high school senior. They applied to 10 schools. Some are coming in, yay. Some are coming in, nay. They have a little senioritis. How do you help them figure out what's best for them?
I think the biggest thing is to look backwards in the admissions process when they were building their list of schools and taking a look and doing a pros and cons list is really big for those seniors, to really decide which is going to be the right fit for them.
Yeah. And how do they know?
I think they're going to know based on, I mean, one of the big things is a lot of them are getting into their dream programs. Like we had a student get into the UPenn Vagelos program, which only accepts 50 students. She knew immediately when she got in, she's like, done, decision.
Hello, yeah.
Hello, I'm done. So a lot of kids are in that position already that they already know. I mean, at this point, you know, you're typically choosing between one or two schools, and that's it. Some students might choose based on merit-based scholarships. You know, we had some students get upwards of $50,000, $60,000 in scholarships. Now with things changing, they may choose to do that. Some students may end up choosing, a small portion of them might be saying, I want to stay closer to home, and they're going to a community college until they decide the next step. So a lot of students are, you know, making some, I would say, tougher decisions than normal. But with the students we work with that are like typically achieving students that are doing well in school, driven, they've got big dreams. These are the types of kids that are, you know, they're really excited and they're getting into these competitive programs and they're saying yes like that.
How is this all affecting the universities? You brought up a good point. They got to put butts in seats. They got to know who's coming and when, so they can fill their classrooms and stay solvent as well. What types of things has COVID-19 done to them?
Well, I mean, big things. The fact that international students may not be coming back, that's a huge portion of the tuitions that are now not being filled. Mm-hmm. And if anyone looks at, you know, a student in the US versus out of the US, you know, it's almost double the rate that they're losing for every student that doesn't come back. For the upcoming year, students that were planning on applying and they accepted in, they may not come either. So there could be this gap of the amount of students coming. You know, certain universities have already announced they may not be opening fall 2020 semester for a campus experience, that they'll move online. I mean, so yes, the colleges are trying to figure out what they're going to do. They still have wonderful professors. They have great structures and systems to help educate these children to become lots of different professions. And they still want to continue doing that. That's why right now, for example, for kids that are applying to college, applications are still opening August 1st. Colleges aren't slowing anything down. You have to make a decision in the next 4 to 5 weeks, and you need to start applying to college in the next 12 weeks. They're not changing anything in that sense because they need to get students in. Now, it doesn't mean, Frank, that it's as easy as when you applied, just because they need butts and seats.
Come on.
Frank, tell me about, we were talking about this earlier. Why don't you tell the story of like how you applied to school? Like you did not.
I applied to 2, University of Oregon, because I was born up there. My parents both went there, and Cal, because I grew up 10 miles from there. And it was either those 2 or I was going to a junior college. But I had a lot of, you know, I was an athlete, Boy Scouts, part of the community. But I did write my statement of purpose on a piece of binder paper with a number 2 pencil and just kind of worked it out one night and put it in. And lo and behold, I got into Cal. Those days are over, I bet.
Yeah, they are. And I think the big thing also is that, you know, the fact that applications have moved online, and this is the joke I always make, it's called the Common App. So a lot of times, imagine you can apply to 20 schools, hit by a template, hit the submit button, and you look common in the application process on the other end because your essay now gets to go to 20 schools instead of 2. And on average, most students are applying to roughly 15 schools when it comes to the admissions process right now because of how competitive it is.
Right. And what does that cost per application now? Does it differ, obviously?
Oh my gosh, it has gone up. I mean, some schools it's $45 an application. Some it's gone up to $79. Yeah. And that application cost can be prohibitive for some students.
Right.
So it's definitely surprising, but it's it's an interesting time. And I think, you know, with the students that are applying this year, you know, they're coming across an unprecedented application time. I mean, I think it's going to be harder to get into universities. Even if they have more spaces for international kids that aren't coming, there's 4 million kids applying to college every single year. And so there's going to be a big challenge because they're not looking at grades as much and test scores.
You had written an essay on getting into UC Berkeley, where I went years ago in the 80s. I think it's like a 14 to 15% acceptance rate. So they get 85, 90,000 of these, and they let in 17,000 kids. I mean, and these are good kids, right?
They're all great kids.
Yeah.
And this is the issue is, you know, I was doing a Facebook Live recently and I said, if your kid is introverted and shy, you are going to suffer in admissions this year, because it is so important. The most important part of the application process right now is how you share your story, who you are, what you stand for, and how you can put that into what yours was, the binder sheet of 650 words, and getting that written out to perfect draft, not just, getting good grades or test scores.
Yeah, well, I guess you got to be well-rounded. It's not all about the GPA. Let's talk about this final semester or quarter for kids in high school. Will it count for some to get into college? And I know in some of the schools here in the Bay Area, they're just handing out A's to everybody.
So some of them are doing that, but some of them are just doing pass fail. Right. And so for the kids, for example, that, were making a A+, now it's just a pass. Or the kids that were really suffering, they don't have as much teacher access or being able to do better in that class. So I think at this point, the way that schools are going to be, universities are going to be looking at these specific quarter grades is with a grain of salt. And I'll tell you why. Let's say you have a student, because we work with a lot of students in this area. They go to competitive schools. Y'all's education system is unbelievable. The kinds of classes they're in, the competitiveness, it's part of the most competitive area of the country. So they know when they look at the kid's transcript, okay, this is going to be someone who can handle our academic rigor, So they're not going to judge the student on a quarter. They're going to look at the student's, work from 9th through 11th grade from an academic perspective, but they're also going to look and say, hey, you had a month and a half, 2 months of free time. What did you do with that time? Did you just sit around on TikTok all day? Because we've got kids, doing fundraisers. They are, we had students immediately start learning to sew and make masks. We had students that started a Facebook page. They paid for elderly people's groceries and delivered it to them. And these are 17-year-olds, so you can be passionate, driven, do well in school, but who you are and how you do things during this time and what your activities are to showcase what your passion is, that's what's going to help you actually get in.
And that all goes into your statement of purpose, the paper that you write, what I've been doing, why I want to move forward, why I want to be a UCLA Bruin or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So in the UC system, there's 4 essays, by the way, 4 now, right?
Well, that's changed.
Yeah. And they're shorter, which makes it even harder because you have less space to be able to say what you want to say, and you have to be compelling. And then even on the Common App, it's 650 words, but it's like, what's your family background? Tell us about you. Or open-ended question, who are you? Or what has been a failure you've dealt with and how did you handle that obstacle? These prompts have been out since February of this year. So our kids are already done with their essays.
Right. What advice would you give parents out there? They're juggling not only work from home, they've probably got a kid with senioritis. They may have some younger kids in high school or junior high or even younger. And they're a little stressed out too, trying to help their kids navigate all this. What would you say to mom and dad?
I would say, number one, have a plan. I think when we have a plan and routines, this is what kids need. They had it when they were in school. Create it now for them. I sent an email to my entire list of myself, what I call my rituals document, and it lists everything that I have to do in a day. And I check it off daily just to feel that sense of normalcy in my own world. So I recommend tip number 1 is have a plan and have a routine with your child. Second thing is print out the calendars and look at what the dates are that are still coming. It is not getting canceled. The admissions process has been virtual and online forever. If they need to interview your child, they'll do it through Zoom like they do most of the time. So write that out and make a plan of action from now until when applications open. Because if you apply earlier and you apply when applications open, recruiters have more time to be reading through everything because they're not doing a lot of the other things they normally do, like go over to international countries and market their schools. So keep that in mind in terms of, even if you Googled and looked early admissions rates versus regular, you could have a great kid, but if you don't apply early, they won't get in typically on the regular route. It's very hard. So I'd say have a plan, calendars, and look at the power of just applying early. A big thing I would say is you must have a compelling story and don't focus on writing about the coronavirus. Everyone's going to want to do that. And then you become
different. Stand out.
Be different and stand out. and get someone who has this experience, who understands the colleges and can help you with this. Get a coach. And the last thing I have to say is don't cancel your dreams.
Yeah.
These are the dreams you've had. You worked so hard. You made this incredible child. This is going to slow down. We're going to move past this. And it's really important to not cancel our dreams. We have things we want to achieve. And these children do want to grow up. They want to have a college experience or get an education and be a contributing citizen of this country. So from my perspective, don't cancel your dreams.
Absolutely. And I'm getting the word here that colleges are moving on. They're not going to accommodate, oh, geez, well, this coronavirus thing. No, it's a deadline. Hit it. Give me your best shot, and we'll see if you get in, right?
Absolutely, because there are so many top students that regardless of, what's happening in the world, they're still performing. And we're seeing that across the board in leadership. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners are stepping up, they're pivoting, they're changing, they're making it happen during this time. And that quality, that quality right there it separates what I call the hustlers and the losers. And so when you look at the admissions process, when they can have the pick of the litter, they're going to pick a hustler over a loser.
Well, that's just human nature, right?
It's human nature. You want people that have a vision.
You want someone on your team that's going to be a go-getter as opposed to, what do you want me to do? That said, do you think there's opportunities for kids to maybe get into a school that might be a little above them because they're a hustler, because they pushed it forward a little bit?
I do. I think if they have the right edited essays and resume, they can look into the fact that there's going to be a percentage of students that are not returning, or a percentage of students that, can't come due to, border restrictions or whatnot. So not to say that it's easier to get in, but I would recommend, if I had a student that's in 11th grade right now, I would be applying to 15 to 20 schools. I'd hit the max on the amount that I could apply. And I would be putting a lot more reach schools on that list, because the acceptance rates are going to be higher. But it does not mean that if you're trying to write this essay right up against deadline or do it later on and not get the right advice, that you will just get in just because there's a smaller increased chance. But I will say, for the kids that are getting the right type of help, yes, it is actually working for us at College Shortcuts for the kids that are going to be applying and already done with all their stuff.
Let's talk about the juniors out there, because they're next up. How do you think this will affect them in their senior year? Because it's going to be a bit of a different world.
It will be. I think, when we look at it, senior year, high schools will have to open. Either they're going to go virtual. I know some are totally canceled, but we're going to have to figure that out, right? So the big thing is, from my perspective, is because applications open August 1st, which is in less than 13 weeks, it always makes more sense to get all of that work done now. And then when senior year starts, just focus on your academics. I mean, the junior year is already a hard year for a lot of these students, but senior year academically with all the honors AP classes can be really challenging. Now, if you're also going to add on the layers of social distancing or not being able to do other things,
right?
I mean, that is going to be hard for kids to, to go through. So spending this time now and using it wisely, I highly recommend it. They have more free time than they ever have in the history of being in high school. So our recommendation is really use this time wisely, because all camps got canceled this summer. There's nothing.
Oh yeah,
that they
parents
can go
know
do.
that too well. And we've done a few stories on that.
So it's really important to translate all the dreams and ideas and concepts and take it from offline to online. I mean, Frank, if this happened during your time, can you imagine, and with this level of admissions without the internet, how hard it would be for you to stand out?
It'd be incredibly hard. I mean, I don't know how we'd be learning, without the ability to interact back and forth virtually. Before we close, just another message to the 18-year-old, 17-year-old seniors that are about to embark on their life in college. What do you want to say to them?
I want to say to you guys, look, life is going to throw you a lot of curveballs. When I was in high school, 9/11 happened, and I know exactly what it feels like to be at your age and in a large crisis across this country. And I want to let you know you're going to get through this. I've gotten through this, and everyone has gotten through a crisis. But it's in time of crisis that shapes who you truly are. And I urge you to use this time to reflect on what your vision is in life, to look at what future you want to develop, look at the passions that you have and the dreams you have and what you want to do, and continue to make those dreams bigger and bigger, because this is a time of pause and reflection. And no matter what happens, all of us are going to support you no matter what.
Yeah, you judge a man or a woman's character when they're down, not when they're up. That's for sure. How they grow, how they go, how they move forward. And apparently the colleges are doing that too, it sounds like, right?
They are. Frank, I can totally tell you're an athlete, because that's a lot of sports psychology right there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yes.
Wrestled a few years at Cal, rode a year at Crew, and lots of other good stuff too. Finally, we should have touched on it a little bit earlier, but just tell us briefly about College Shortcuts and how people can get in contact with you.
So what we're offering everyone is a free discovery call during this time to talk with our enrollment team, and they can find that at collegeshortcuts.com. There's an apply button in the top corner to schedule their call with us. What we do at College Shortcuts is our goal is to help students find their passion, reduce their stress and anxiety, and then help package them properly in the admissions process to get into the college of their dreams. We start as early as 6th and 7th grade to pair a mentor closer to your kid's age, help them go on that self-discovery process of figuring out what they want to do with their life, and help them all the way up until 11th grade with our mentorship program. And then after that, in 11th grade, we help them with building their college list, finding the right fit, because, once they leave your home, they leave your home. And we want to make sure they're at the right place where they can thrive and be successful and have the right alumni networks and so forth for, their future and all the other future decisions that come after college.
Yeah, if you go to college and you don't develop good habits at home, it isn't going to work too well.
No, it's not.
You don't have mom and dad knocking on the door saying, hit the books, kid,
Exactly. And I think that's a beautiful thing to say, because when you have a high-powered mentor or coach by you, just like in athletics, it'll push past some of your limiting beliefs or your mindset, right, and take you to that next level. And that's what we're doing with students that come across these roadblocks. And right now there's a lot of roadblocks for these kids. So to have someone saying, hey, I got your back, you've got this, and talking to you every 2 weeks and making your dreams come true, it's awesome. We just had a student finish her 20,000 word book called The Relatable Guide to Teens. And we're now editing her book with her. And that's a big deal at starting in 7th or 8th grade. And now she's finishing 9th grade and she's going to be a published author.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I totally love the fact that our mentors, even today, even in crisis mode, are able to uplift these children's mentality and mindset and really have them have a vision for the future.
Hey, we didn't talk about SATs and testing. Some colleges are throwing it out. Just a quick word on that.
So this is interesting. Parents are really fixated on the SAT. It's the question I keep getting every single day. And I just want them to take a moment and step back and think about this. Your child went in on a Saturday for 3 hours to take an exam. Does that actually determine their intelligence, their success, who they are? Will they be a passionate individual, driven, resilient, emotional grit? No, it's just a number. And so in reality, what's going to happen is just because they're going test optional doesn't mean that they're not going to look at things like the academic transcript. It just means that what's weighted in the admissions process is the stuff that actually matters, not just some score or number. A kid can get a 1320, yet still be driven and amazing and hardworking. So from our perspective, and we've been saying this for a very long time, I've been doing this for 15 years at College Works, we've been saying every single time, you can have the perfect SAT score and still not get into a top Ivy. It does not matter. They do not care. It helps. It's an additional benefit. Yes, they did used to look at it and make decisions on which pile to put it in. But now it's going to be all about, like we used to always say, the essay and the resume. If you don't have the right story, if you don't have the right passion, if you can't show you're going to be a contributing person on campus, it doesn't matter that you went in on a Saturday for 3 hours. So I think people need to get off the fixation of scores and focus in on the stuff that matters, which is the story, not the stat. It's the human. And this is the next level of consciousness that's happening in college admissions, which I am very excited about.
I can tell your passion jumps off the screen. I feel like I'm talking to my coach here. So, job well done. Job well done. That is Neha Gupta. She's with College Shortcuts, and what a pleasure chatting with you.
Absolutely. You too, Frank.
All right. All the best to those high school seniors and the juniors to come. Neha, thanks a lot.
Of course.
I'm Frank Malicote here in the Bay Area. We'll send it back to you.